Hey, Paul, this is Sally. If you can hear me, I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now, Sally?
Yes, I
Oh,
just heard
good.
you for the first time. Yep.
Okay,
How you
great.
doing?
I'm surprised you figured it out so quick.
Dan is with us today.
Great. Okay. This week will be similar to last week, kind of a smorgasbord appetizers of AutoCAD concepts and commands that I rarely use, if ever. So bear with me. I had to spend the weekend cramming to relearn all this stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully the show goes well. I did get some animation running, but I don't dare try to start from scratch to get a fresh one because it's so frustrating trying to debug them. I'll show you what some that I got running, and we'll open up the script files and explain them line by line. I did watch a lot of YouTube videos. I sent out this handout rather late, just a couple hours ago. So open it up if you want to follow me. Toward the end, I give credit to the YouTubes that I plagiarized.
We'll see if I have it.
Yeah, this running engine one was perfect for academic study. But I really had a hard time. I watched a few more that kind of did the same thing. Probably, I don't know which one was first. But between watching several of them, I got a piston to work up and down a cylinder. But what else?
One of the one that says week 8 handouts,
Yes.
they're all labeled TXT. Is that correct? TXT?
That I sent two messages out. The later one sent a bunch of TXT files. And for some reason, when I attached them as .scr for script files, I got this warning, what was it, incompatible format or something. And so rather than clicking send and see what happens, I sent them out on a second email as TXT. So as we're waiting for the class to assemble, maybe replace the .txt on those with .scr. If you want to, don't know much advantage in doing that, because I'll have the .scr open on the screen, and you can watch it on the screen as well as watch it on your monitor. But the older one had a bunch of drawings. Got another visitor. Ali is coming aboard. And some of those drawings I'm hearing a honking sound. Some of the drawings in the older email I sent out a couple hours ago run the script file with the exact same name to see some animation in them.
Because the ones I just opened with the TXT, they opened up in my notepad.
Good. All right. Well, from File Manager, probably from Notepad, just resave the file into your folder, but instead of TXT, overwrite that with .scr. Once you got the SCRs, no need to save the same file in the TXT version. They're identical except for that extension. Kind of like an AutoCAD DWG is the same as a DWT for the template. But the difference in the extension makes all the difference. We'll also get into groups, and groups are used in the animation. Oh yeah, I started to say before students came in, when groups came out, I thought big deal. They're nothing but blocks with a few differences. So, I kept using blocks every time I wanted to cluster a package of lines, arcs, and circles. But then a programmer told me he made a custom program for a client, and the client called a week later and say, hey, all these things are still grouped. How do I ungroup them? And so he had to do some rework and add the ungrouping step to the program. That leads me to believe that groups are commonly used in animation script files, and script files in general. I don't know of another way that you can program for a specific bunch of objects to do something. If you just reference a block, hey, rotate, enter, it asks, what do you want to rotate? You say the name of the block, enter. Well, there may be a dozen references with the exact same name of block. So groups are a way to identify packages of objects. You can assign a UCS directly to one, as some of the YouTube videos show. I was only partially successful. The Auto Lisp might be able to latch on to single objects or blocks of objects by their handle. Let me show you that. When you do a list, I'll type LI for list, select any object, and AutoCAD has a handle identifier for each and every object. And as I understand, it's a totally random name. And in the event that it generates a random name that's already used in the file, then it starts over again and generates another random name. But it's kind of like the number of the row in the spreadsheet. So maybe a programmer, I would think a reference block. Well, let's find out here. We'll make a block out of this stuff. B for block. We'll call it, say, stuff. Pick point.
Hey, Paul, this is Ali.
Hey,
I don't know what's Ali, but I can't see your screen. I just see your picture.
oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, let me try to. Okay, I repeated the attempt to share my entire screen.
Yep, it's working now.
Okay, maybe I forgot to click the OK or something. Always
Thank you.
something. Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yep, no problem.
Getting back here, we're going to make a block of this stuff. Forgot to select stuff. Now I believe we picked the handle of the block and we selected stuff and we named it. I see no use for a description. Everything else will accept as default. Click OK. Now let's do a list on this block or reference block or block reference. I think it has a handle. Yep. That ink image of a block has a handle that a programmer can likely take advantage of to move a specific block or whatever. So, but anyway, I'll demonstrate groups tonight. Whoops. How can I undo? This is, and then later when we get into the animation script files, I'll open them up and show you the, where it directs AutoCAD commands to specific groups of objects to move them or to rotate them. Also cover isometrics. I'm getting deja vu. I can't remember if I said it in this recording or a previous practice recording, but in my opinion, isometric drawings are out of style. Just do a little more work and get a 3D solid, that you can do so much more. But the exception might be for some plumbing schematics to show all the supply and drains to a whole row of toilets or showers. I think I still see those in architecture drawing. But for good measure, I'll demonstrate drawing isometric. I found a better way with a few more settings turned on. And the making circles in an isometric 3D depiction is a little bit of a challenge. I'll show that. Oh, and dimensions are even a bigger challenge. Vanilla AutoCAD is very poor in dimensioning the isometric 3D pictorials. So you kind of got to work around, and the arrowheads and the text in the dimension are still wrong, looking bad. I very, very vaguely recall there was an add-on program. I can't remember if it was Auto Lisp, but it gave you 3 new dimension styles depending on whether you're in the left, right, or top plane of your isometric drawing. This will make sense later if you're new to this. And that would have the arrowheads kind of slanted like you see in the old pencil drawing methods. Mass prop, I think I touched briefly in class. That it shows the centroid of at least a 2D shape. I haven't tried it on a 3D shape, but the beauty of it is the engineers can come up with the moment of inertia, which is used for calculating the stress. Like if a fat guy's on a diving board, knowing the moment of inertia of the diving board and the thickness of it. What else? That's about it. You can calculate the stress trying to rip the top fibers of the diving board apart. And that stress ought to be lower than the yield stress of the material, possibly half the yield stress of a material to give it a high factor of safety. I remember when I was an engineer at the shipyard, I calculated the moment of inertia of the C-shaped channel that had some micro switches slide down it for the elevator equipment. And that was a big job to do it all by pencil to calculate that moment of inertia to confirm it could survive a, super high G acceleration of a near miss bomb. We'll also touch very briefly on materials. Just a really quick appetizer. We'll take one of our 3D solids from that week 5 starter drawing and apply roofing shingles, marble, and materials that show up very blatant. The metals and plastics and most of the woods aren't much different than spray paintings. We'll try to get materials with distinct appearances. Lighting is another similar one. I think all textbooks will tell you when you get to lighting your solid objects or your surfaces, be prepared for some hit and miss and trial and error. Sample drawings that come with this with textbooks might have a kitchen setup with hanging lights over the dining table or over the sink. And that'll give you some appreciation for what you can do with lighting. But there's so many variations to lights. But I wonder if they hired a PhD to do the programming for lights. Then finally, we'll get into script files. First, some that create layers, set them current, change the colors. What else? They can draw lines and circles and put text in a drawing. You can have an entire drawing in a super long script file, but it would be much bigger than the DWG drawing file, kind of like a DXF file we briefly touched on last week. All right, we got almost coming up 4:30. I only got 3 students. There's always a few that got drafted on the second shift, so I guess we'll get started. Oh, and finally, parametrics. Dan had an interest last week in those. And with parametrics and groups, you can write a script file that does your simple basic animation. I got at least 3 here that are working. Oh, I need to point out that y'all should have received a message from Tom Bauer, my boss at the night school, and he's like an intermediate AutoCAD months ago. He sent out the questionnaires in a PDF file or a Word file, and please check the boxes or type on the lines and get it back to him soon. I don't know if he needs them this week or before the end of the quarter. But don't forget to complete that course evaluation.
Oh, this is Dan. I'm here.
Oh,
There's
good.
4 students.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting about that 2-on-1 computer there. Also give some thoughts to what next week. And typically when I was teaching in a classroom, the last week was absolutely nothing but finishing the final assignment. A student would say, okay, I'm ready for nitpicking, and I'd stand behind him with my hands in my pockets and show me the layers, and select everything, show me the dimension style. I just interrogate them. The first one to be done, I interrogate the hardest just to scare the rest of the class. But I don't know how to do that online. If we're lucky, you can email me your file, and if you don't mind, I'll nitpick it on my computer. If you don't mind your classmates seeing your work. Another option would be to email it whenever you're done, prior to the completion of the quarter. And I'll, time permitting, maybe I'll make a video of how I'd improve it. And you can watch the video and repeat it by yourself. But anyway, another option is the final week, besides completing our birdhouses. Here's a couple more topics that I could give an appetizer for. GD&T, I think, is popular. That's those international graphic symbols for concentricity and flatness and perpendicularity and on and on. I haven't seen them in my construction work. There's also a big topic that I'll need to teach, and I can give a little bit of an appetizer: sheet sets. As I understand sheet sets, it's a combination of script files, layouts, and XREFs. So that because they're all XREFs, everybody can work on a separate discipline. Like we learned the week we studied XREFs. The sheet set kind of consolidates all these XREFs and has just the specific ones showing through layouts. So if you print the entire sheet set, you may have 50 drawings involved. I think each page must be a DWG file. No, I was about to say the drawing files can only have one layout in them, but I'm better study up before I say that. Anyway, sheet sets I think are common in architecture now. I don't know where they're being taught. Maybe somebody goes into the architect firm and sets everything up, and they kind of got it. They make it pretty user friendly, so you really don't need to know what's going on. You just need to know your little piece of the project. And in a way, all buildings are the same. They all have the same disciplines. Some have elevators, some have hydraulic lifts, and what else? But they all have HVAC, electrical, architecture, foundation, structural. Fire prevention is a real big thing. Another thing that I'll probably have to teach sooner or later is annotative text dimensions, hatching, and there's probably other things, but in fact, the architect firms that use sheet sets probably, well, they should be using annotative features. But the few drawings I've spot checked, I don't see annotative text get popular. But that's so that you can rig your text in model space, so that whenever it's viewed through a, say, 1:48 viewport, it'll appear exactly 1/8 of an inch on the print, or in the layout. The problem is you got to know the standard scales that you're going to deliver your drawings in. You can't, I don't believe there's a way you can say, hey, for any plot scale, make this text 1/8 of an inch. You have to specifically say 1:48 or 1:96 or 1:100 or whatever. It might be something for the wish list. Put an asterisk down to, for any scale, it'll work. And anyway, get back with me if you like one of those or have something else you've heard about that we might cover next week in the final class. Bottom of the handout I emailed, and it's in the assignment, are several YouTube videos I watched and plagiarized to some extent. I'll have to admit there's some of them I could swear there's 5 seconds missing in the video for some reason. And, you know, glitch here and there. But anyway, 4:35, let's get underway here. Again, please complete the course evaluation and reply it back to Tom Bauer. I don't know what his email hopefully has a deadline. I don't know if it's till the end of the quarter or the end of our 9th class or just this week, but don't let that slip by. First on the agenda is layer states. Let me open up, say the starter for week 5 with all those solids in it. Open, start week 5 starter. You know, it's got a ton of layers in it and textile, all sorts of stuff to play with. Now, hypothetically, say we wanted to print out just this exercise 23 item. Well, in that case, you know, from this view, we don't want to see all these other objects. You might just want to see this item and all the text. You know, all the text is on the same layer. So we might want to store a snapshot of the layer table specifically to plot out this, what's it called, exit 23, exercise 23. So let's go to the layers property, set current, the EX23 layer, Control A to select all layers and freeze all layers. We get a warning, you can't freeze the current layer. Incidentally, part of the script files has a, you can type expert, and the higher the value, the more of these silly warnings it'll disable or simply answer yes for you. Anyway, so to print out that, whoops, I forgot the text. I forget which layer that was on. There it is, text. We'll thaw. Oh, I had them all selected. Okay, all Control A. Can't freeze. I'll click on one layer. There. So now we have just the current layer, example 26, 23, and the green layer of text. So let's go up here to the, what's it called, layer state manager. I'll show you the type in a minute. I believe there's an equivalent command line version. Click on layer states manager. Oh, I got something on the command prompt. Let me hit escape to get back to type a command. Click on the layer state manager. And exactly as the layers are right now, the freeze thaw status, the lock status, the color, the line types. I haven't tried this yet, but I expect even the frozen and new viewport and, you know, all those columns will get recorded. We'll call this thing, say, EX23. Description or not, click OK. And maybe we'll close out of here and do another one. Let's say, I don't know, where's 14? This little thing. We'll freeze 23. Oh, no, set 14 current, so we can freeze example 23. And we'll make EX14 bright yellow. And let's say we'll make the text, bright white, color number 7. So these are the layers that we'd want to print out. Save the layer state and call it, what was that again? EX, I forgot already. Memory's so bad. The EX14 will create a new layer state exactly as all the columns and all the settings are within the few that I've changed the color for. And we'll call it, say, EX, I forgot it already, 14 was it? Click OK. You get the idea. I believe if you create a new layer, by default, it is turned off when you restore an existing layer state. However, you can easily add it to the layer state. That may cause some confusion if you got a bunch of layers yet to create after you've created your layer states. Let's lose, let's see, close the layer state. We'll restore the EX23 layer state. Click restore. Yeah, here's the default. Turn off layers not found in the layer state. I think if you uncheck it, the layer state has absolutely no control of that layer. So it's totally independent, whatever you left it as. Click restore. Text is back to green, and all that's, with the exception of the text, all that's thawed is the EX23 layer. I can turn these on and change all sorts of colors. Stir it up, lock and unlock and anything, machine gun all you like, and restore, say, the EX14 layer state. And everything is unlocked and everything is thawed except for the text layer, which is now color number 7, and the EX14 layer, which I changed to yellow. So punchline, you can restore a layer state before each plot and possibly use the exact same layout for every discipline: electrical, HVAC, plumbing, sprinklers, alarms. I doubt they do that. I think it's more likely people, professionals, freeze and current viewport. They have a layout for each discipline rather than a layer state for each discipline. But be aware you can snapshot all the settings of all the columns of all the layers and restore that snapshot later in your work. This can also be done by a plot style, but I might have a layer state where they're all shades of gray. So what I see on my screen is going to be what I see when I Xerox it on a black and white copier. Again, there's a grayscale plot style that I've used for that. Any question about layer states? Little icon here on the layer property manager. Somehow you can add layers, I think. Yeah, you can edit them. I'm kind of stepping out of the boat here, but I think you can modify layers or add layers to revise the layer state long after you've created it. I don't know what export does. Hopefully I can type the command version of the layer dialog box -LA. There's many commands you can put a hyphen in front of it and it disables the dialog box. That way you can use the command in script files without having your script file interrupted by a file dialog box or a window. I believe Visual Basic can work with the windows, but script files and I believe Auto Lisp files can only work on command line version of commands. So type layer or type -L, the entire word layer. And let's see, new, I think creates, oh, here we go, state. Click on the state option or type A, enter. And I believe we can name it and save it, or select one we know the name of and restore it. So I suspect, taking advantage of the -LA method, a script file can interact and open, restore different layer states. Another, how did I jump across saving views? I don't believe I covered layer saving views, did I? I don't know how I missed it. It's top line there. Anyway, it's possible to save a dozen views and set current or restore the views within a script file. Sometimes I go in here to model space and get the perfect 3D view I want, save it as a saved view, then go into the layout, get out, escape, and recover the, in fact, this drawing has some saved views in it. Type the word view. I'll show you in a second the ribbon method. Model space views, I got all these created. Say we'll restore view 3, set current, not restore, set current. Frustrating that the different processes use different words. Click OK and nothing happens. Okay, looks like I gotta select the viewport. There we go. Well, I don't see nothing. Well, that's because the layer state we got. Let's select all layers, Control A. And there's our view, whatever I picked of it. In model space, you can restore, say, a view 6 set current and pop it there. When you're creating a view, you can assign it a specific visual style. So you can have it override the current visual style. Let's create a new one. I'll name them, say, V1, since I already got view 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the visual style. We can leave it as it is current, or for this view, we'll toggle on one of the higher end visual styles. I've experimented with backgrounds, and they're difficult to get rid of. So I don't recommend. You can go gradient and change the color and make it all, whatever politically correct you got these days. Have it all as fancy as you want. I'll be sure to cancel so that doesn't last. But I found that background stays forever until you do something to get rid of it. And I haven't, I have been able to get rid of it, but I haven't practiced enough to remember what I did to get rid of it. Anyway, give it a name.
Question.
Yes, Daniel.
Can you make your AutoCAD screen bigger so that we can see it more easily?
Yeah,
Taller maybe? And maybe drag it to the left so that we don't see the background on your desktop as much?
good point. Let me finish this while I'm here.
Yep.
Click
Thank
OK. There's our view. Now, before we restore it, and before I forget, let me maximize this. I don't know how to turn off the taskbar. I don't want to reduce the handouts, too much, so we can't read. Let's
Yeah,
go
that's
back.
better. Thank you.
Where is it on the ribbon? Okay, right here on the drafting and annotation, click view, and this named brings up the views. Oh, that's viewports, my bad. All right, I may have turned it off. Let me, yeah, here we go. By default, the views panel is not on the view tab. So I'll make visible the views panel. And here's the view manager that we access simply by typing VIEW enter. And again, through the type in method, your script file can open up and even print a specific view. It's probably too slow to, get a stop action animation with. Coming up 5 o'clock. Next on the agenda is groups. And again, I thought, well, what can they do that I can't do with blocks? So it wasn't until I found they were used by programmers that I got to appreciate them, and I saw that the animation script files use them. So I want to show you the groups before we get into the animation. Let me, I think I was playing with this little class 1 exercise we got here. These are all individual stuff. It's not a block. So say we want to weld all this together into a group, much like we could weld it all together into a block, move it in one piece and then explode it back to where it was. Groups can do that and a little bit more. Let's see, groups are on the home tab of drafting and annotation workspace. Way over here to the right. Simply type, I think G enter is enough to launch it on the command prompt. Yep. Getting back to the ribbon here, click on group, select the spaghetti that you want built into your group. Okay. I hope I don't have something turned off by default, but I'll invoke the name option and we'll call it, say, G1. Enter. Now, depending on how the settings for groups are, you can select individual lines and rearrange them, or you can select the entire group in one shot. You know, there might be times where you want to change the cross hatching within the group, so you can individually move, you know, pieces within the group. But later, when you toggle back to, you know, package everything in groups, just select it, and even the stuff you moved outside will be selected. And that is this toggle right here, group selection on or off. Apparently when it's blue, that means it's on. And I can mirror, copy, rotate, you know, everything in one package. What is this? I got this silly white thing here. Part of my Zoom stuff's covering it up. Let's turn it the other way. Now I can move individual pieces of the group. Change the layer they're on, you know, rotate, whatever. I'll toggle back on group selection. Now, believe it or not, even those things that are moved are still in the group. I don't know how, can't think of a real life example of using that. Drop this.
Well,
Yes.
excuse me, Paul, this is Dan. Will that work with dimensions and text in a view? Like if you want everything, like I like to turn off my viewport, that frame that goes around that represents the view. But if I were to group everything, the view and the text and the dimensions and the GD&T, and I go to move it, even though my frame would be off, I could probably move it all together, right?
Yeah.
That might be a good application for that.
Maybe, but you know, as with everything, there's multiple ways. I don't know if that's any different than selecting with a giant selection set.
Well, it would be different because I always have my viewport off.
Oh,
So the solids or the line work, whatever you used in the background, you know, in the model space. In my case, I'm using like quote unquote 2D lines in the 3D space, if that makes sense.
or maybe like a grid.
No, like I'm using 3D lines for my views. But what happens is, because I always have my viewport off, that boundary is off, I go to move stuff, and then the view stays, all the geometry stays, and all the text and everything goes. They don't move together, is what I'm saying. But that's okay.
I don't recommend turning a viewport off, so
I always turn
trying
them
to
off.
catch up with you here.
I always turn them off. They drive me, you know, for me, it's too much. I have like 30 views on one sheet. I mean, you have a box on every single view. It just gets too much line work. It's just crazy. I'm not doing 3 or 4 little views on a sheet where it's easy, you know, it's not a big deal. I'm doing tons and tons of views.
Okay, here's where you turn it off, and that makes it invisible, right?
Well, no, I'm doing it through the layers function. So that if the viewport is on, let's say,
okay.
yeah. Oh, so I confused you with saying turn it off. I mean, filter it off with the layers function.
I'm with you. Okay, to each his own. I kind of like it on, but in a non-printing layer. So I'm going to have to punt on this, Dan. I'm not sure if groups will be of benefit for that application or not.
All right, I'll be in the end zone waiting for it.
Now I did have some man called me back when we had a user group, I think he had frozen his viewport and he called me up and he says, hey, I can double click on it. And maybe it was locked and frozen.
Oh, wow.
You know, I told him check your layers and see that it's on and thawed. Oh, yeah, that'll work. Thanks.
So our group uses a viewport that uses a color of red, and it's kind of intrusive. You know, you have all these red boxes all over the place.
Interesting.
I like the way that you have yours yellow because it's easier on the eyes.
Yeah,
but
it's faint.
I don't
So,
set the rules in our group, so I have to go with what we have.
yep, I hear you.
Thank you.
Interesting. Sometimes I wish we had the user group still going and system administrators can explain why they rig things up the way they do. I think we can save a view in paper space, but I've only used it in model space. This might be another view we create. We'll save this as V2. Saint, you know, well, visual style's got no effect on this 2D stuff, I think. Maybe create a new one. Top view of this house. A new view, call it V3. And we can stir up our view anyway and snap back to that view by selecting it, pick set current, okay. Select V3, set current, okay. And then again, you can include the visual style built into the view. Trying to remember, I think I used to make handouts where I'd start with circles to make the machine part. You know, that would be one step, and I'd copy it over and continue a little further, and copy it over and continue it a little further. So each of these steps was a view. And I don't think I ever did this, but a script file could set current each view and then print out the display. You know, the trouble is you always think of a step between the views, you know, something that throws the numbering out of order. Let's see, what else can I tell you about groups? Here's, you can add stuff or take out. I think we got a group 1, don't we? Select group or name. Oh, well, let's just select it. We can add stuff to the group or remove stuff to the group or rename the group. What's this do? Ungroup. Not sure. You can ungroup and you can also explode. Within the group manager, you can select and explode. And I've been destroying all traces that had ever existed by explode. You know, now it's back to the way it was. I don't know how, you know, anyway. Another nice feature I like about this group manager, let me undo so I got a group to play with again. Group manager, if you've long since forgotten where your Smith's Warehouse Group is on the development plan you're making for Donald Trump, for example. I kind of like this feature. You know the name of the group, but have no idea where it is in your drawing. Just click highlight, and it'll, dotted line everything. Wonder what happens if it's off the screen. I kind of doubt it's going to pan to show it to you. Whoops, well, I guess up there. Highlight. Okay, it's selected and hashed pattern, but it doesn't alter your display so you can see it. There it is. There's another feature of boundary boxes. I got little use for that. That just has this thin white line that makes a rectangle around all the parts of your group. I really don't know of an advantage for that. I think that's about all I can talk about groups. Now, some of the animation would make a block out of this, whose handle is dead center of a circle. And I noticed that when you take that block and make it a one-piece group and assign to it a UCS, it'll snap perfectly to the handle of the original block. That was interesting. In fact, one of the animations, it's kind of jerky when we get to the car running. I'll show you. I think I picked a quadrant of a circle instead of dead center of the circle for a step. And I'm afraid to fix it because at least it's working a little bit now. Anyway, moving right along, isometric lines. Back in the 90s, drawing an isometric was, let me just do a rough sketch here, freehand. This might be a, crude isometric. Very, very low-tech 3D pictorial or depiction. Now that computers are fast enough and softwares should be user-friendly, I see little use for isometrics, but I believe you still see them on occasion for plumbing diagrams, possibly in a mechanical room or in a shower room. There might be a chase, to each and every shower. And then down here, maybe have the sanitary drain lines connected. And that'll easily show the plumber how the system should go together. But for history's sake, most textbooks will say turn off polar, turn off object snap tracking, get rid of grid. I guess those snaps are optional, but most textbooks tell you to draw isometric by going to the snap and grid dialog box. That's part of the object snap settings. I think a few of these status bar buttons, right click and you get to a tab on this drafting settings. You want to go to the snap and grid, change it to isometric snap. and turn on the old ortho. Now it's a little bit easier to draw in the directions you want. Now I want to go up here, but see, I'm in the wrong plane. I want to be in the top plane or the right plane to draw diagonally to the upper right. Simply hit F5. I think escape works also, but F5 will toggle you among the three drawing planes. And unfortunately, you gotta kind of know the distance already. You know, type 4 units out and 6 units this way and 4 units back. I think it's easier if you turn on object snap tracking, and instead of polar, turn on, I'm sorry, instead of ortho, go back to 30-degree increment on polar. And you might as well turn off the isometric snap. You know, set it back to rectangular. Now, another setting I've found advantageous is rigging object snap tracking to track in all polar angles, not just right, left, up, down. You know, by default, it's rigged for right, left, up, down. This is a little hard to find. Okay, there's on or off. Here we go. Who'd have thought to go to polar tracking to get to object snap tracking settings? But pick this one, that way you can track in all polar angle. Every 30 degrees you can polar track. For good measure, let me make sure I got my 5 favorites on. Yep. Now check it out. We'll start with, let me zoom in a bit so we're just use small numbers. Let's see, we'll go 4 by 5 by 6. Now check it out. I can go all the way back to this corner simply by object snap tracking. Acquire, there, click. Enter again, start, acquire. Get the idea. I think I typed in the distance for these 3 lines, and everything else was done with object snap tracking. Again, polar tracking set for 30, object snap tracking on, and set for all angles on the polar tracking tab. I've never used this absolute and relative. Not sure what application changing that would be. Now the next thing on isometric, I think the handout mentions everything I got rigged for the old textbook way. Burgener's better way. Circles are a little bit unique. You gotta have that snap turned on. Good, I managed to turn it on from this icon without having to go to snap and grid and turning it on. But you gotta have this isometric snap turned on. Otherwise, the ellipse command will not offer you the ISO circle option. So if you're having trouble finding the ISO circle option, double check you got the ISO snap on. ISO circle is on either of these two options, axis end or elliptical. I think the difference is this will form an entire isometric circle, and this will allow you to make just a 90-degree portion of the ISO circle or a 180-degree portion of an ISO circle. I'll just demonstrate full ISO circles. So click, this one's, I think you can do full circles, but then this is a little more user friendly. We'll click ellipse axis end, and since we got the ISO plane rigging on the snap, you got this ISO circle option that won't appear for some reason unless ISO plane is turned on. So click ISO circle. You know, where do you want your circle center? I'll just pick a random point. Now, doesn't that look odd? That kind of looks like it's a hole going to the upper left, doesn't it? So hit F5 until you got the right ISO plane for the hole. There we go. Type in the radius or D for diameter for the hole. Got to go all the way up here again. Or wait a minute, let me see. Simply E. Good, okay. You can type in ELL, get this ISO circle with isometric drafting toggled on. Pick a point, you know, I can O-snap between points if I wanted it center. Rats, wrong ISO plane. There we go. And for good measure, F5 again. Now, if you got a dome at the top, you know, then just create a circle, and later, you know, figure out how to pretty it up so you got an arc at each end of the, you know, mailbox looking thing. Let's see, ELL, ISO circle. Okay, my bad, got to go in the middle. ISO circle, center, F5, click, CP for copy, move it down, TR for trim, and you know, whittle away, E for erase, and there's your mailbox. Whoa, I think tangent to tangent now. Well, that's interesting. I thought, okay, I'm getting deja vu. Remember back in the 90s, I'd have to go tangent, 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 tangent until it finally homed in on the tangent I wanted. And I would erase all of them, hold the shift button down and type L for last. And nothing happened. Shift L. Okay. Remove, R for remove, enter. Last one created, L, enter. Enter again. TR, enter, enter to shave the whisker off. Now dimensioning, let me undo, so there's a lot to dimension here. Dimensioning is even trickier than drawing circles in an isometric pictorial. In fact, when I was reading, I forget if it was, I think it was in that $113 textbook I got, admitted that off-the-shelf AutoCAD is poor for isometric dimensioning, especially. And I'll show you why. By the way, everything is drawn to true length. Well, you don't need to know, an isometric is an approximation of a 3D. You make it a 3D solid, and these lines would plot out on the paper shorter than they would than you measure them in the machine shop. But anyway, where was I? Dimension.
Can we make that a solid and then make a section cut through it so we understand how to do that?
Yeah. Let me.
I don't know that this application that we would ever do it. It seems like everything nowadays is 3D modeling and then cutting views off the 3D models. I'm not sure how to do that yet.
All right. I probably should have asked that earlier if there's use and interest in isometric drafting, because again, I see it extremely rare.
It is interesting. It's just that I think before the days of 3D modeling, it was a way to render an isometric view as opposed to having to do it by hand. I know guys in the company that had to do some views back in the 70s.
Oh, man.
Yeah, by hand to make an isometric.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because it was challenging for them, but it seems nowadays everything is made out of a 3D, and then you can get any view you want from it, really.
Yeah, especially with the higher end software like Inventor.
Oh yeah, I want to get into that too.
Yeah, I think with you can make an exploded view.
Love them.
I guess with visual style of hidden, it prints out identical to a hand-drawn isometric. But you're right, you got far more capability once it's solid. All right, let's make a section view. Let's start a rectangle. This is extremely simple. Just to complicate it a little bit. TR for trim. E for erase. What happened there? TR for trim. Okay, P edit to join everything. Yes, by the way, that expert thing, I believe it'll answer this incredibly annoying question. Do you want to turn it into one? So I might start using expert at setting a 1 or 2 or whatever will answer this question. Yes, I want to turn it into one. J for join. Notice I'm still in the isometric style, but it really has little effect. Where were we? Extrude, get back into the 3D workspace or do the typing. I'll make it say that extruded. How about we put a hole through the middle of it?
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Because then when you cut through it, you'll be able to see like a stepped version of it. That'd be great. You know what I mean?
Yep, I know what you mean. I'm trying to decide if I ought to.
Don't go all the way through. Go like halfway through, and then when you
Alright.
do the section, it'll be cross-hatched on one part. But then if you cut it through the center of the hole, it won't be cross-hatched on the center of the hole.
I believe, oh yeah, I'm with you. Trying to
Yep.
decide whether to put a UCS on this face and extrude down or make a cylinder and 3D rotate it. Got a preference? Let me,
No, I don't have a preference.
okay.
Do it the way you feel like most comfortable.
I'm pretty comfortable jockeying the UCS around. 3 for 3 points. Click, click, click. Now we're working on this surface. I'll draw a circle and extrude it.
Oh, that's cool.
You like that, huh?
Oh yeah, that's the stuff right there.
I should have, I'm too lazy to put a point for like a drill, but all right, we want to, we need to subtract the hole from the big guy. So that's done with the subtract command. Select the big guy first, enter, select the hole. It doesn't look any different, Okay. You see, you do have a hole. Now, I think, Dan, I'm just about to slice it right through the vertical diameter of the hole.
Yes.
But I want to say there's an AutoCAD type in command like some automatic way of doing it. And you can even move the cross section cutting plane back and forth.
Wow.
I remember teaching that a long time ago, but I can't remember what the process is. I assume it's vanilla AutoCAD. But getting back here, we'll slice.
What's that section plane right there in the middle of that palette?
I'll bet you're right. Select face or any point to locate section line. All right, dead center of that circle. Through, hopefully the perpendicular object snap will work.
How'd you do that? The perpendicular part.
Oh, man, look at that.
You right-clicked P or something?
Nice.
Yeah, no, I typed, when it asked for the point, I typed PER enter.
Okay, yeah.
For a perpendicular, that's another OSNAP override method.
PER, yeah.
Yeah, I've been demonstrating for students the shift right click method. But yeah, that's a good point. And I think I can move this around. Let's see. Move. Ooh.
Yeah, that's nice. Because then now let's say you want to do a zigzag through that that block you have there.
Yeah, that's a line like this
Yep,
through
yep.
would form a half section.
Yep.
I think I'm getting far out of the boat here.
Right there, add a jog. Look at that.
All right. Select section object. I assume that's this thing. Point to add a jog right there.
Oh yeah, that is cool. It did a step.
Well, it kind of jog. Whoa, what happened?
Yeah, it did a step in the vertical instead of the horizontal. There must be a way to specify which plane you want to step it in.
Well, let's undo and
Those types of views are going to be useful for us, like especially in the mechanical world.
well, don't forget you can slice it twice and union back together 3 of the 4 pieces. You with me?
Oh, yes, I see what you're saying, yeah.
But this way, I think you got the capability to, to grip at it, the cutting plane, making it a little more versatile. Add jog. What if I change my UCS back to the world system?
You try to,
UCS, enter, W, enter. Jog. Okay, and bow snaps are biting me here. Turn them off. Didn't I just select a point on the section line? Oh, NEA for near. Bow snap override. Okay, why does it insist on going there? I can't specify a near point on the cutting plane.
maybe switch back to that other UCS. I don't know.
Let me try to specify a point off the plane, and let's hope it starts a jag the way we want. Invalid point. What if we go to a top view? How do we get the thing? Let's see, backside, shucks. This is taking longer than I expected, but this class is small. So I remember, the slower students sometimes say, instructor got off the subject too much, off on the tangent that nobody cares about except one student.
So somebody might say that about me. No, but I think that I don't know the disciplines everybody's in, but if you're in mechanical or if you're in structural, and you have to create a view through a part. Sometimes you have to cut through the solid of a cylinder to see the keyway. I mean, or whatever it might be, even hydraulic stuff. So this is valuable information and pertinent to what we do. I don't know about piping or electrical. They probably do a lot more line work and text type stuff, but we could definitely use it.
Let me 3D rotate it.
But I mean, what you showed was good to get us going in the right direction. Like that's basically how you make section view. And then from there you can make a viewport to it, scale it, throw it into the layouts, and then start drawing it from there, like adding annotation. So that's good. Yeah, I don't want to hold you up with it, but I appreciate you showing how to get going on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we might be able to figure it out later.
What I'd like to do is, draw, and I think you agree, Dan, it'd be nice to draw a line. Oh, blankety blanket. Turn off O snap. Let me change the color on this line. Hopefully there's a way to, take a given line. I was hoping the line would show up a little better, but you get, I drew a line there, and I don't know if I can assign a section plane to an object.
Oh, I see the way you're thinking, yeah.
I think I better punt again. So, yep. What's the command we're using here? Section plane jog. Hit F1 and type that in and see what the help tells you about it.
Okay, thank you.
Want to take a break? Keep going.
Yeah, we could take probably a short break.
Yeah, I got clock says 5:36. Can we take a 9-minute break to 5:45?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you in 9.
Okay.
Anybody remaining have any question or concerns? I'll get some ice water. Be right back. Yeah, what I say, 5:45. Yeah. Down to 3 students now. Got 5:45, everybody back?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay. This next topic is I think it's only by type-in command. And back when I was an engineer, did stress calculations for a while. And let me mirror this I-beam section here. If you place a super heavy load, on this beam, like a fat guy on a diving board, what would be the stress on the top surface, which would be put in tension? And I vaguely recall doing the hand calculations for like a C channel with something else welded to it. I forget if it had like an angle beam underneath it, something like that. There was a track that micro switches could slide down and clamp into this unistrut. I believe it calculated the extremes of the elevator hydraulic ram. And I had to come up with the moment of inertia with an assumed load applied to it to calculate whether or not this thing would tear. What would the stress be? And the mass prop command of AutoCAD can do that all for you instantly. I was hoping to find something on the internet where we could, a simple equation for like a round bar or a rectangular bar, so we could see if AutoCAD calculates the same as the short textbook equation would calculate. Getting back here, yeah, this bending stress is equal to the moment times the furthest distance from the neutral axis divided by the moment of inertia. So the moment of inertia depends on the cross section of the beam. But check it out. We first got to make this into a region. I don't know why a region instead of a solid. I've never taught region, but the region is kind of like a two-dimensional solid, kind of like a cutout piece of construction paper. It's kind of sort of like a two-dimensional thing and sort of like a solid object. Let's go back to drafting an annotation and drop down here, and right there is the region command. And this is surprisingly easy. Click on region, just window what you want to form the region to look like and hit enter. There's no p-edit join and all that silly stuff. So we got a region here. We'll type in as mass, P-R-O-P, enter, M-A-S-S-P-R-O-P, select the region, hit enter, and we can save it, zoom out to a text file. With the centroid is at these coordinates. Unfortunately, I forgot to place 0, 0 at the bottom here. You can either do that by moving it to the origin or create a UCS there. Moment of inertia is, I think, irrelevant of the origin. And I believe this 8391, I forget what the units are, but that would tell you the strength of a piece of steel this shape of an I-beam. along with the fat guy and the length of the beam that's cantilevered from the hull of the ship, say. I forget what radius of gyration is. But my point is, your engineers would eat this up. You know, it's almost as good as a finite element analysis to find stress. So keep that in mind. If
Can we run a matrix on AutoCAD too? If you wanted to make like a zigzag pattern, like a truss system, and run and then calculate the matrix, the stress points between the different links.
I know what you mean. And the short answer is, I don't know. I'll bet you somebody's written an auto list program to analyze a truss.
Yeah, especially those people that build trusses for houses.
Right. There was a way, I recall a way with descriptive geometry, which is compasses and protractors and all that stuff. You kind of make a vector diagram and nibble your way through joint to joint. So I would think an auto list program could do that. I highly doubt it's in vanilla AutoCAD though.
Okay.
That would be wonder if there's a market for that. Let's go back to our, okay, materials. Next on the agenda, we'll go back to week 5 starter. Back to model tab. And this is just barely scratching the surface of applying the material to an object. And some of the YouTube videos apply materials to surfaces, or faces, I think they call them, like wallpaper and carpeting for the, the respective surface. Let's see, we got to go to a high-end 3D workspace. Basics or modeling, and I never played with these others. 3D modeling will work. Material is on the Visualize tab. Don't see it yet. Click Visualize tab, and there's materials. So again, 3D workspace, Visualize tab, materials panel. What little I know is this top button here, materials browser. And up comes a library of standard materials. I think I left it where I was playing before the class. This would be something for a long YouTube video or a $113 textbook. I believe this top part is kind of like a list of layers. It's your list of materials that you want to work with. And you can drag the material from the bottom here and just drop it in there. I think there's another way of, right click and add to document. Yep, there you go. There's some roofing materials that are fun to play with. And once you got your all the materials, I guess an interior designer would pick wallpaper and all the curtains and everything. This is you'd think you could click on the material and then select the object. I don't think that works. I have had luck with selecting the object from the command prompt and then clicking on the material you want it to look like. And nothing happens because I haven't put it into realistic visual style. Remind me later when we get to lighting, it's got to be the shaded visual style. We'll click on realistic. And there's the, what is it, the shake roofing. Now, one thing that interests me is why does the shake roofing not line up with the XY plane? So I'm not going to lose sleep over that. There might be a way to, you can set the origin of the material pattern and the rotation of the material pattern. Why it's comes out with a wedge shape is interesting. Select the object again. Okay, I guess it's selected. And when this, what's it called? Realistic visual style, I don't see the grips. Click another one of your materials. And there's the coarse polished alabaster stone, whatever that is. Select it again. This would be like a marble surface or marble tile. There's a whole library of different types of woods here. Unfortunately, few of them really have a noticeable grain. Let's see if rose myrtle might look impressive. I would say that does not look impressive. Not sure what happened there. When I was playing earlier, no matter what pattern or what material I'd put on an object, it came out like a checkerboard. And I forget if I closed AutoCAD and reopened it to get it to work, or once I shut down the computer to get it to work. I can't remember what that problem was. Anyway, that's all I can tell you about materials, is specifying, selecting the solid object you want and clicking on the material after having dragged the material up into this working area. Again, AutoCAD's got a pretty generous list of materials and surface material. I tried mirror and didn't look like a mirror to me, but maybe you got to have lighting and other stuff to see it. Flooring has got a lot of, how do we get into glass? There, different tiles. So that's about all I can tell you about materials. I doubt the density of the material rides with the aesthetics. It would be nice if I applied marble material to this solid object and I can, calculate the weight of it. I doubt the density of marble is built into the material in vanilla AutoCAD. Next on the agenda is lighting. Let me move to another sample I haven't butchered up with a material yet. And again, this requires the shaded visual style to do lighting. And again, the textbooks will, it's not hard to find a really, really nice professionally done rendering. Anyway, here on the same visualize tab within the 3D modeling workspace is create light. I believe I've used Spotlight decades ago. I don't know how to do it, but I've heard you can specify sunlight at this latitude and longitude on this date of the year and this time. But I don't know how to do that. We'll pick a spotlight. We'll take the suggested turn off the default lighting recommended. And place our spotlight on the XY plane at a specific point and aim it at an O snap of the object. Yeah, let me aim it at this quadrant. I think I can hit enter and the flashlight will appear and I can go to the properties of it instead of dealing with the command prompt. Let me see. Yeah, we'll select the light, right click the properties. And if the wind's blowing right, you can make the light brighter by changing either the light intensity and sometimes the intensity factor. Right below the intensity is resulting intensity, and I would think the resulting intensity would be the product of the intensity factor and the lamp intensity. I think I played once, I doubled this and nothing happened. But certainly if you crank this up to a real high number, there's your light. With a little practice, you can learn how to swing this, I think you call it the gizmo. I've had bad luck changing the target. You know, I wanted it to aim right at that corner and it didn't. Undo. Like you can swing the light around to some extent by grip editing. And I don't know which property you're changing, probably something over here, like fall off angle, or, you know, there's just so many adjustments for lighting that kind of overwhelms just a simple CAD operator. I believe you can copy these lights. Why didn't the table light up? Maybe because it's shining underneath them. Let's see. Okay, it's shining over them. Now there's probably a way you can adjust, you can swing them down lower with this grip editing. But, oh, good night. You can always jockey your UCS. Let's see, this would be left side. And I can rotate these little icons. Oh, let me change the UCS to view. So I got the XY plane to rotate it on. RO for rotate. Hopefully that, not sure what this is. Let's go back to the Zoom previous. Yeah, there you go. Now you got the light aimed at the picnic table. But I've seen renderings in expensive books, you know, like hanging lights over a pool table or over a sink. And it's really a hit and miss art to, you know, to get the exact effect you want for the lighting you're trying to simulate. I think I saw one sample of it might have been a point light within a glass globe, mounted on a fixture on the wall. It looked pretty realistic. But that's about all I can tell you about lighting. If you're into it. Any question about lighting or materials? Now let's get into simple script files. Script files is probably still the training wheels of learning how to program. AutoLisp is a program language, but a script file is like a grocery list of things you type on the command prompt. Now, unfortunately, some things you type on the command prompt will open dialog boxes, like LA for layer opens a dialog box. Save will open the file dialog box, I hope. Yep. So to disable these dialog boxes, there's a couple of variables and workarounds. File dia system variable set to 0 will disable the Windows File Explorer when you save and when you open. And then you got to type the entire path on the command prompt. Pretty hard. As for the commands that open up a dialog box like layer, plot, and view, remember view opens up that view manager where we created a new view and set current and all that. But many of these commands, I think there's probably exceptions, but many of them will strip down to the command line version that you can run with a script file simply by adding the hyphen to the left of the command. And it's a good idea to use the entire typing of the command. I think from force of habit, I typed -LA and it didn't compute. Someplace I read that launching options a command, you can type the capital letters of the option, but get in the habit of typing the entire command, from the command prompt. Let me show you what my miscellaneous script file will do. It's rigged to work on a brand new drawing. So I'll start a brand new drawing, I'll close snap and this, whatever this is, annotation. Got no layers, got no nothing. All we got is 0 layer. I can bring this script file in and it'll create layers, assign colors to layers. The last one it created will be the current one. But I believe with the set option of the -LA command, you can set current any layer that's already been made. What else? It'll draw circles, lines. What else did I play with? Oh, it'll set the text height with a system variable text size. Print some ink down. I believe it does freeze and set current. I think it does set current. Anyway, let me see if I can find miscellaneous. Okay, all intermediates, student work, week number 8 we're at. And I started with one called circles and one called lines, and then it occurred to me, why not just combine them all together? And, by the way, the official textbook way is to type SCR and select your script file this way, but being incredibly lazy, I'll take advantage of simply dragging the script file in. Boop, and sit back and watch it do its thing. Now, it does have some delays built in, and I noticed that the delays are not consistent. It seems like this second and third line appear pretty much at the same time, but the delay between these two is the same as between the first and second. So I'm at a loss on why the delay was not consistent. Here's the text I put on layer number 2. These I think are layer 4. So that's the result of the script file. Let's open up the script file. Where is it? Miscellaneous. There it is. As my handout says, does it say? I don't know what that does. Oh, that turns off. Yeah, for some reason I rigged that. Anyway, the semicolon, just like an auto list, nullifies or makes the rest of the line inert. So these are comment lines that do nothing. They're just something for the operator or purchaser of your script file just to read. And I tried to put them explaining what it's just done. But let's skip the file dialog. If you're
Excuse me, Paul.
yes, sir.
I got a question about codes. What does and amp semicolon mean?
I'm at a loss. Ampersand semicolon. What is that? The at
No.
symbol?
No, capital AND and semicolon at the end of the AND. What does that have some sort of a script? Like you said, the semicolon makes the rest of the line inert.
Right. Where have you seen that?
I used to put these ads on Craigslist, and somehow or another, the text would change to AND semicolon, and my whole ad would be like null and void. The thing wouldn't show up on Craigslist. It was the strangest thing. I don't know how this stuff would get in there, but it would. And then I was wondering what AND semicolon meant, if you knew, but it's not work. It's not, class related, but I just was wondering what that meant.
My first guess is it's some HTML code.
All right, I have to look
Could
that up
be, or-
separately. Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know. I'm trying to remember. I've looked at HTML code, and I can't remember if I see semicolons. So I'm
That's
gonna
all
have
right.
to punt on that.
Thanks anyways. Figured I'd swing it by you. Thanks.
Not a problem. Here's a circle command. This is if you type the command, every space is the same as hitting the enter button. So this is as if you type the circle command and hit enter. Well, by practicing, as you're writing the script file, the first question of the circle command is specify center point. So it types 10, 10 and hits enter. The next question is, I believe, what radius do you want? And I answered that with 10. The end of the line is another enter key. So be on the lookout. You can have a gazillion enters that don't show up on your line. And boy, that's difficult to troubleshoot. I've come down and hit the end button and made sure that the end stops right after the last letter, when things aren't working. I wish, I've considered open office or Word and have the non-printing characters display. You type on a little P for paragraph symbol. I think it's in Open Office. Yeah, this little thing here makes visible the blank spaces and the carriage returns or enters. So I think there's a way you can write your script file being able to see these blank spaces. You just got to remember to save it purely in .txt format. I'll have to experiment and see if that works. But don't save it as .txt, save it as .scr. Remember, AutoLisp is a text file that ends with LSP. A script file is a text file that ends with SCR. So maybe next time I teach intermediate, I'll be smart enough to do that. So these all, delay. I'm tempted to say it only works in a script file. If you type delay while drawing AutoCAD, I think it'll say does not compute. There's a handful of commands that only work in a script file, but delay says, hey, take a break. There's the enter. And I've told it to pause for 1,000 milliseconds. And I suspect my computer is either cluttered up with background virus checker stuff, or is just getting old, or behind the times, because weird things happen anytime I put a delay in a script file. Causes a lot of frustration. Anyway, each of these delays just slows down the forming of the circles, and it forms 4 more circles. The x coordinate goes up by 10 and the radius goes up by 10. So that's why you got this fancy design here. Again, the end of a line is an enter or a blank space, so it'll work the same as this will work just the same way. And there's pros and cons to having a end of a line for each enter, or have everything with an enter between each type in response. Anyway, down here I'm making layers. The type in -layer command will put it all on the command prompt instead of the dialog box. The M option is for make, which automatically sets current what you make. I believe the next prompt is what do you want to name the layer? I just named it 1. Enter. C is what color do you want to assign to a layer? Enter. And then, believe it or not, it says what layer do you want to assign that color to? Or no, what color do you want to assign? Yeah, I think it's what color you want to assign. And I chose color number 1. Then it says what layer do you want to apply it to? And I said the layer number 1. I should have named the layers layer 1, 2, 3 and named the colors color 1, 2, 3 instead of everything 1. But each of these creates a layer. And the last one is the last one that's set current with the make command. I believe the set option allows you to make, S for set, changes the current layer. You can lock and thaw and on and off and line weight and all sorts of stuff. I don't think it gets into those viewport properties though. Wonder what would happen if I typed LA in an active viewport, if it'd be the, anyway, I'm starting to babble. Where were we? Script file, miscellaneous. Then right here it zooms all. You know, when you start a new file, it's the default is 12 by 9 limits. You know, a little more than a letter size sheet of paper. So zoom all lets you see the biggest circle. Then it gets into lines. I got a 4-second delay there, which is inconsistent. Another line, another delay, another line. You know, after the beginning and the end of the line, you hit enter. So a blank line to get back to command prompt. That one, this sets current the layer name to. Text size is a system variable that says the upcoming text will be 2 units tall. M text is like clicking on the A. Where do you want to start the first corner? That XY. What's 75 for? Oh, 75, 0 is the opposite corner. So these are the coordinates of the paragraph style you do. And then it types this, hits enter, and types that. And that results in this yellow text on layer, whatever it is, number 2. Someplace I thought when I did the lines the first time, sometimes the ends were so close to the circle that they'd home in and snap to the quadrant. So I don't see it now, but I thought I had in here turning the O snaps to none. There it is. Yeah, up at the front here, I typed the word O snap. What O snap do you want to set? I want none. And that allowed me to draw the lines without the O snaps getting sucked into the quadrants or circle centers, whichever. What else? And then here I set the O snaps back to where I want them, the Burgener's 5 favorite. I seem to recall you could, this chain would be like, have a number. You know, each O snap would be a number to the O snap command. And if you wanted to do all of them, you added the numbers together, something like that. But now I found out, you know, typing the full name of the object snap works just as well. This sets back the file dialog again, and that's the end of the file. So I recall we got back in the 90s. I came across a 5 1/4 floppy disk that had AutoCAD DWG files in it and script files in it. And that, I assume that was in the early days of AutoCAD before it had the layer states that we learned today. So the operator would launch a script file if you wanted to see the roads and the numbers of the buildings, for example, and another script file to change the colors to show the shipping container crane. It had to do with the report of Newport News back in a former life. Doubt I could find it now. Moving right along. Again, the expert command gets rid of those annoying, do you want to convert it to do you want it to form a polyline and all that. What else do I have here? I believe you type visual style or shade mode enter, and you can control the visual style if we had something to show it with. Next step is the animation or the parametrics. We got time, don't we? Or do we? Yeah, we got time. A couple of years ago, I thought I'd have to teach parametrics, and so I began learning it. And yeah, I really wonder how much parametrics are used in real life. It's nice because you can, if you move a hole, the hole on the other side will move if you rig it that way. You can change one thing and other stuff changes to catch up with it. Well, who knows early in the design phase what you're going to want to change later on.
A lot of times, because let's say you review an old drawing and they say, like, for example, on certain types of boats, you have coaming, right? And they have the stainless steel boundary bar on the deck plates. And inside of the boundary bars, they have this tile. It's like regular tile you see at Walmart. Well, there's a requirement to have 1/8 of an inch all around that. And let's say you have some object, like a bulkhead, for example, and you're supposed to have 1/8 inch between that boundary bar and the bulkhead, but all around the perimeter. Now, let's say that bulkhead moves. If you program it early on, you can have that whole deck update automatically based on the wall moving. It's really useful.
Okay. I think I'm with you.
I made a parametric mount for an employer, and the thing was pretty incredible because the end user only had to plug in the weight of the item that was going to be applied to it. Let's say you have a component, it's 400 pounds. Well, the mount, you'd say, open up a user interface window and it say, okay, this is going to be 400 pounds. So you're applying basically 50 pounds to each corner. And then the mount would size itself automatically based on the parametrics.
That's okay. Appreciate it. In a way, it's like a dynamic block.
Yeah, exactly.
Dave Stein used to work at the shipyard. I forget where he is now. I see him on a newsletter occasionally. But,
What is he, Dave Stein? What?
Dave Stein, I think, is the author of a auto list program or an add-on program. I think it's called Mariner. And knowing Dave Stein, when he left, he had it password protected or something, so I'd kind of be surprised if anyone continued it. Sorry to say, but anyway, I vaguely recall he made a dynamic block of a ladder that you could click at the bottom of the ladder and at the top of the ladder, and it would space the rungs reasonably all the way up the ladder.
Well, yeah, they have to be equally spaced. They can't be greater than 9.5 inches, and they should be. The ideal is 7 3/4 for each rise.
Interesting.
And then you have to have so much nose, and oh yeah, all that could be parametric.
Interesting. And you said 9.5 space. I thought in my business it's a nice even foot.
No, this is vertical. For each rise, it's rise over run. Run is the horizontal, rise is the vertical.
For a set of stairs or for a vertical ladder or both? Or...
Oh, I'm talking about stairs.
Okay.
You're talking about just ladders. Okay, 12
Yeah.
inches. Yep, I
Yeah.
got you.
specifically, I'm thinking of a ladder in the pit of an elevator shaft,
Yep, yep.
maybe
Okay.
in manholes too. So anyway,
Same concept, just different application.
right. But back, where am I? Enter name of drawing. Oh, I got file dia still rigged. Forgot to disable that in the script file. Now, nothing will go wrong if I type open, the dialog box will appear. Damn. All right, be that way. I don't think it, no, it doesn't appear this way either. I got it back somehow, but I can drag the drawing into AutoCAD and open it that way. And something gave me the impression that a custom-made bicycle could be an application for parametric.
Oh, yeah. Change the size for each individual, like
Yeah,
seat.
right. Let me show all the parametry. This is far from being complete. But show all the constraints and show all the force dimensions. And my guess is the client, based on the height and weight of the client, there'd be a few definites defined. Maybe these two dimensions would be based on the size of the bicycle, the client. Now you want the wheels to always be tangent to the ground. So I set a tangent parametric constraint. Unfortunately, the ground moves all over the place. I can't remember. I hope I saved it the way I'm demonstrating it. I'll reduce the size of the front wheel and nothing happens. Shit. Well, there was a way I could grip edit and then believe it or not, there's some reason that the front wheel would be smaller than the rear. I don't know if it's so your head could be lower, for less wind resistance maybe. But I'd have a way that I could resize this wheel and it would remain tangent to the ground. But I think what remained stationary was the top bar or something like that. But anyway, that's as far as I got with it, and then lost interest and moved on to something else. Let me show you some, well, we'll start a new drawing. In fact, well, for a class with only 3 students, I don't know if I dare assign homework. There is a way that AutoCAD will make assumptions and you can apply constraints automatically. And I think it's going to assume I want a hinge link at each corner of these lines. And I think it'll assume I want these 2 lines to be parallel. Let's see. Nothing automatic ever does what you want it to do. Now, why the heck are the hinge points way down here? I don't remember seeing that. I think this is the parallel. No, there's the parallel. Anyway, the point is, you just like automatic dimensioning, you can auto constrain your design, but the assumption the computer makes are rarely what you want them to be. Another way is with this status bar button down here, infer constraints. And that, as you draw, it assumes you want a hinge at each joint. Now, why the hell are they down here? I don't remember that happening. Always something, ain't it? Let's see, if I move one, are they linked together as a chain? Yep. I don't know why those, the hinges are shown down here. But it's almost, it's kind of sort of like a polyline. If you want a specific line to remain a specific distance, and the other, some of these might be flexible, they can turn into rubber bands, but if you want one to remain a specific distance, use this a linear or aligned tool. It's kind of like dimensioning. And I always keep forgetting to hit the enter button. I want from that red target, sometimes the target, you can't get it away from midpoint. I found the workaround, just zoom out a bit. You can get the red point at the hinges. I want this link of the mechanism to forever be 5.4, etc. long. Click. Now the part I keep forgetting is hitting the enter button to final confirm the dimension. So now if I move a link, that one that's fixed never stretches or compresses. All the others will, but not the one that I set that constraint on. If you want something to be welded to the earth, I found this padlock on 2 points will do the job. We'll click on this fixed constraint and click on use it twice for 2 points on the line, and that'll weld this thing so it never moves. In fact, I believe you can't even move it if you want to. Nope, it's welded to the ground. What else? The YouTube videos would make instead of just using a line for a 4-bar mechanism, they'd have a rod or a flat bar with 2 holes in it. And this you would force the centers of the circles to coincide. Now, I prefer this coincident constraint because this point will forever stick to this point. You don't have to have circles and arcs. You just snap to the centers of the circles, or in this case, the ends of the lines. By having the inferred on, it assumed I wanted to do that, on each side of each endpoint of each vertex. Keep these parallel, perpendicular. I forever want this line to be horizontal. Circles are always to be tangent to the ground, like on the bicycle. What's next on my cue card here? Covered that. Okay, now the fun part. The script file, at the bottom of a script file, if you type R script, that stands for repeat. So it's an infinite do loop that forever goes until you hit backspace or escape. And that'll stop the infinite do loop right where it is. And to some extent, you can zoom and pan, and don't think you can answer a question to specify point, or, it's not interactive, but you can maybe freeze and thaw layers. And anyway, type resume, and the script file will start right where it left off and keep going through the do loop forever. So all of these animation script files, I'm going to demonstrate these 3. All of them end with R script. And if anything below that is as if there was a semicolon. It's never seen by the computer, so you can type anything you want on the line below our script and line below that and below that and below that. Now, if the wind's blowing right, I can open up my linkage HHH drawing and run the script file of the exact same name. No, I got to open up car in the rain drawing, and linkage HHH is within that drawing. So let's open up. Okay, there's car in the rain script. There's the linkage triple H script. Car in the rain drawing. Drag it over. Specify insertion point. All right, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. Okay, it came in as a block. I thought dragging it into the drawing area would open it. Let's drag it into the command area. I believe it'll be a fresh drawing and not a block within a drawing. There we go. I give credit to the YouTube video that I watched. And the YouTube, and I swear I had it working. I've got a layer of dark blue and a layer of light blue, and they're slightly staggered, so they flash back and forth. So it kind of sort of looks like a heavy rainstorm. But for the life of me, I can't get the freaking layers to, toggle on and off back and forth so they flash. And the YouTube videos has no problem. Anyway, let's run the moving car script, or car in the rain script. I think you briefly see both layers. There's the dark, and it never turns back to the light. Notice the car. This was plagiarized out of one of the panel. I think the architectural panel. Notice it bounces up and down a bit. Zoom in, you'll notice the wheels rotate. And I think it bounces up and down a bit because I carelessly assigned the UCS to a quadrant of the hubcap instead of dead center of the hubcap. And I'm too lazy to fix it since it's sort of working as it is. Let's open up car in the rain. Let's see, I'll bring up, I think I already got it open. Yeah, this is the script file for car in the rain. Asterisk means everything. So it says if I type the dash layer, invoke the off option, it says what layers do you want to turn off? I typed asterisks for all, and I can't for the life of me remember what N does. It makes a new layer, but it doesn't make sense. It seemed that it's run, so I left it on, but after turning everything off, I turn on rain 2 layer, and then further down I turn off rain 2 and turn on rain 1, but the script file doesn't do that. And punchline is drawing these script files are pretty frustrating unless you got a state-of-the-art high-tech computer. Okay, here's where I assign the UCS. And again, I plagiarized this YouTube video. The guy literally types this script file in the YouTube video. I say, hey, I want to make a UCS. It says, it gives a whole bunch of, X, Y, Z, 3-point, etc. I invoke the object option. It says, okay, what object? Well, I want a group. It says, okay, what's the name of the group? I say C1. And apparently, I don't believe there's a double blank after that. So that ends the UCS creating process. I launched the rotate command. I want an object to rotate. The object is a group, and I want wheel number 1 to rotate. Enter. The rotate command says, oh, that's selection set. You know, you got to hit enter, enter, enter to select one item and then finish the selection set. Next thing is, where do you want the center of rotation? Well, I want it at the 0, 0 of the new UCS I just put on wheel number 1 here. How far do you want it to rotate? I want it to rotate 10 degrees. And here it does similar to the second wheel. And then here it moves the entire car. I can't remember if Camaro, I'd already played with the car. So anyway, I think you can have a group with subgroups in it. The Camaro group, I believe, has the wheel 1 and wheel 2. And the C's, I think, are these tiny little circles in the middle here. So we got 5 groups involved. Regen, you know what that does, just refreshes the display. Delays for 1/10 of a second in theory, and then it hits the R script and goes back up to the top, and this car would just keep going forever if I walked away after launching the script file. Here's, okay, up, I'm holding you overtime after all. This one's another one I plagiarized from a YouTube video. You know, there we got the center of this pillow block, I think you call it, and is coincide, you know, is constrained to the center of the linkage circle. Run linkage.scr, it tells me. Okay, open up linkage.lcr, drag it in, and nothing will go wrong. This short linkage here is a group. The other 2 links are have their length fixed with a constraint. And why does it not run? All right. Now, sometimes when I get this rolling, this inner tube rolling, that means I got to shut down AutoCAD. If I'm lucky, I can hit backspace or escape to stop the script file. If I'm not lucky, I got to shut down AutoCAD through the, what's it called, Task Manager. Let's see, backspace. Oh, good, it stopped. So I can manually run this thing. Let me rotate this manually. Rotate, select the link, center rotation there. And you know, if the script file would run in every 10 degrees or whatever it's set for, would you know, do like, you would simulate what I'm doing manually right now. Now, I've learned the hard way. The links can have the geometry so that, how to put it, so that when the rod is, you know, you can max out the linkages. You know, the rod absolutely can't rotate any further without breaking one of these linkages. So a couple of times I had to move the, you know, turn off the distance constraints and slide, you know, stretch the link so it, you know, the rotating rod could go all the way around without stretching either of the links. Let me see, linkage HHH, I think that's a separate drawing. Yeah, I was thinking if you know, we had a class, I don't know if the, you know, why such a small attendance today, but I was thinking of making this a homework assignment. You know, you can see I got the double points anchored on the pillow blocks. I got the constraint at each corner. Now, I wouldn't tell you to make a script file to animate it, but I would have think that right now you'd be smart enough that you could at least rig the linkage so you can manually simulate it. I think there's an even more impressive one coming up. Was it engine? Let's open engine. Yeah, this one's closer to the quality of the YouTube engine one, and nothing will go wrong. There we go. Nope. Damn it, the center of the camshaft or the crankshaft moved off center. I thought I'd tested this and found that the center of the crankshaft remained on that vertical line. But there's a parallel constraint between this line and this line. Let's see, turn on all the dimensions. Okay, I expected a dimension for this little air gap right here to be constant. But it's almost working. A little bit more. Well, I got the floor. How do you pronounce this? Ingenious. This is another extremely impressive YouTube video of a running engine. Let me stop this guy. Yeah, this is a stick figure. I think with these polylines is what the YouTube shows. I got it working simply with the stick figure. Where's ingenious? Drag him. Whoa, I'm in the middle of a command. Let me hit escape. Drag ingenious in. This diagonal line here is just so I could see if that center of the crankshaft was moving like it did on the earlier one. Now I've noticed that sometimes it jumps a lot more than the 10 degrees or whatever I've got in the script file. And it's as if it does the loop 3 times for every single display. Again, when you get that R script and the delays in, it can get pretty frustrating. What else have I got here? Linkage HHH didn't work. I believe that is all. Anybody got any question on anything from today?
No,
No.
but that was interesting.
Okay. I was expecting thought I was just about to anticipate hearing snoring. Again, please look for that email from Tom Bauer.
Yeah, we got it. I got it.
And send me suggestions for time killers for the final class next week. Send me your birdhouse when you're ready for nitpicking, and I'll either say, that's good enough, or nope, do this, this, and this, like I would in class. Any last comments, questions, criticisms, anything?
No.
All right, I'll have the recording up. Hopefully those the other 3 or 4 that couldn't make it will see the recording. I'll have it posted in the assignment and on YouTube yet tonight. See you next week.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.